Change your mind, change your money, change your life. I am Coach Rob Lee Simmons, the host of this podcast, and let me be your tour guide to greatness. Welcome to the Greatness Academy podcast. I am here with an amazing guest today. She is an entrepreneur. She is a mom, and now she is a author. Yaz Franco. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. So tell the people a little bit about who you are. Let's get a little synopsis of who Yaz is.
All right. Well, I am a 10-year veteran. As you know, I was in the Army for about 10 years, and then I got out, went to college, got my degree in music business, started my master's program for public relations, and then started touring in the entertainment industry with a couple of comedians. I am a single mom of two great kids. I did it, and I'm so grateful for it. Two beautiful daughters. And now I'm just here living in Atlanta, and I published my book. It was originally a script I wrote a couple years back, and that's just pretty much it. That's what we got going on right now.
Tell me a little bit about your time in the Army. How did your time in the Army prepare you for the life that you're going through right now?
That's a loaded question, only because I joined so young. I was 17 when I got in the Army, so the Army was all I knew. But I guess the way that it prepared me in my critical thinking skills, my problem solving, the resiliency that I have, it really does instill a standard, not so much a level of discipline because you can lose that over the years. I mean, I still don't wake up as early as I used to, and I don't work out every day like I used to, but I definitely have a set standard for myself that I know that I can meet or I can do constantly. And I think that's the best part of being a veteran is having that set standard for myself. So I don't let myself go beneath that line.
Yeah, and you say that you're a mother. I know you're a mother. But being a mother and trying to balance some of the things that you have going on in your life, how tough is that for you?
It can be challenging at times, very overwhelming. It can be challenging, but at the end of the day, it's also equally rewarding. So
Mm,
it's not a challenge, in my opinion. Like, I know I'm not saying that it's easy to parent, it's definitely not, but it's so rewarding that it doesn't even feel like a challenge because you know it's worth it.
Now, during
Yeah.
your time when you were touring, what was that like in comparison to anything else that you've ever done? Tell me that what that experience was like.
Touring with comedians is a different ballgame. I mean, I've done like musicians as well, but touring with comedians is different because they don't know how to take anything serious.
Yeah.
They're serious people, but they don't know how to take anything serious. So if I'm like, hey guys, this is serious, like I need y'all to, let's get, like I'm army. So I'm like, hey, we need to tighten up. Like they got a joke or whatever. It's such a light mood, but it's definitely fun. It is a life where like I had to stop for a while because the girls came back to live with me. So it's something that it's tiring. It can be overwhelming, but I mean, it's fun. It's very fast paced. Nothing's gonna go as planned at all, ever. Like something's always gonna go wrong. So you just have to be prepared to pivot at any given moment all the time.
From that experience, give me like a nugget that, let's say there's a young lady who wants to get into the industry and do some of the things that you were doing. What would be some advice that you would give them to prepare them for that moment?
If you want to be a tour manager or tour managing, there's a quote that says, when your client asks you a question or asks you, are we good? Is it good? That's like 1,000 questions. So you're answering 1,000 yeses. Like when you say yes, it's 1,000 yeses to every single question that they ask. So my advice is always stay 2 steps ahead. I had something as simple as I had something called my oh shit bag.
Mhm.
It was like a Steve Madden bag that I carried with me on tour all the time. In there, it was deodorant, towels, chargers, lip chapstick, anything, chips, snacks, anything that people be like, "Oh shit, I forgot," or "Oh shit, I forgot my," adapters for the for the engineers, plugs for the camera guys if they forgot something, or like it was my oh shit bag because people will forget, and what they loved about me, they knew that it would probably be in my old shit bag. You know what I mean? So that kind of was my staple because I always thought about ahead, like, okay, what does the average comedian need for a show, or what does the average musician need for a show? Okay, this is what they're gonna need. What can I provide that's easily forgotten, or what do I keep hearing that people forget all the time? So if I go on tour and and the engineers are like, damn, I don't have an extra adapter, I don't have extra, this or that. The next tour I'll have it already in my bag just in case.
No, that's really good. I think it just made me laugh because it's like a granny on steroids. Because your granny got everything in the bag. You name it. Like, I forgot my comb. She pull out 3 combs. Like, how you got a comb and peppermints in that little ass bag, granny? You making it happen.
Yeah,
I love it.
basically.
So tell me a little bit about I want to know a little bit about you through your phases of life. How have you been able to adapt to the changes from when you were younger to where you are now?
Oh, I guess I was just naturally resilient. And so I'm very stubborn in the fact that, like, I'm not gonna fail. I don't care how many times I have to start. I don't care how many industries I have to tap into. I don't care how many no's I get. Like, I'm not, failing is not an option for me. Leaving this earth without making sure my family is good is not an option for me. So I think that fire, it kind of helps me adapt or overcome, like, okay, this sucks. This is shitty, but all right, cry about it 5 minutes. Give yourself a couple minutes to kind of feel that feeling and then keep it pushing because there's no superhero in your story. You're
Right.
the superhero in your story. I have no Superman coming to save me. There's no superhero. So I have to be my own superhero all the time.
Yeah. I would say this like you are a rock star. You are a rock star. And every time I see you, no matter what, you're doing good. And I appreciate that about you. But let me ask you this, right? So I like to highlight minority women in different industries, and I know the challenges that they face. So you don't have to name a particular industry, but let's just talk about it a little bit. Not only as a Latina, but a beautiful woman as well, and then working in industries that are full
You
of
know,
men. How do you survive? How do you survive in those environments with having to face those challenges?
in the army it was tough in the beginning because I didn't. I have five old. Okay, so let me take it back to like my childhood, right? I got
Let's get
five
it.
older brothers. I have
Mm,
no sisters. I didn't know I was pretty, like in real life until about high school ish. My brothers kept me humble for
yeah,
a
you
very
know.
long time. So, like, yeah, my mom will call me pretty, my grandparents, oh, she's such a pretty girl. But my brothers be like, man, don't let that, no, she not. Like, da, da, da. So it would be my brothers that kind of kept me humble for most of my life. So I didn't really understand the power of beauty until I joined the military or the disadvantages to it,
Yeah.
right? I was a tomboy growing up. I didn't really start being girly girl until high school. So when I joined the army and I was all gun ho, I was all about the mission, the actual principle of being a team player and wanting to be a leader and help soldiers succeed. It wasn't until I joined the army that I realized that what I looked like had such an effect on the way people view me, how I had to work twice as hard to get half as far. Like it was just one of those things that was kind of like a culture shock. And I actually got resentment towards my beauty. I
Mm.
didn't like that I was beautiful for a long time.
Wow. Do you feel
I
like
hated it.
do you feel like it's still a challenge today? And then, or are there certain ways or things that you do to overcome, just kind of cut the air when you walk in, cut like the elephant in the room? All right, listen here, I'm here to work. How do you face those challenges now, through all of this experience that you have?
Well, I try my best to stay as professional as possible. You have guys that have never been told no or have never met a woman that doesn't necessarily want to use her looks to get ahead. And so in those moments, you have to kind of be real assertive.
Mm,
It's hard for me. I'm not gonna say a woman that looks like me. It's hard for me specifically because again, I resented how I look. And it wasn't until recently I kind of just embraced, okay, yes, you're a pretty girl with you're a full figure woman, you know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. But it's still that barrier of kind of getting past the sex appeal because that I'm walking sex appeal, you know?
mm,
So it's getting past that sex appeal. And the only way to do that is to just stay a certain like don't give any wiggle room. Like
mm,
if they joke about because guys are real, men are really slick with it, right? They're not gonna openly be like, oh, this or that. Like they basically, for the most part, are more so like real slick. They'll say a small comment here. They'll see how you react. If you laugh, if you smile, then they'll take a little bit more inches forward and then they keep going and going. And so you have to kind of just not play it. Or I've actually blocked people like, okay, you were inappropriate and this ain't that. So you could talk to somebody else. So I turned down gigs because of that, because I don't play that. But because I turned down that gig, the next gig will already know, oh, she don't play that because it's a small industry.
right, right. And word gets around fast.
Hmm.
And yeah, sometimes you just gotta kind of establish what it is. And I know men can be very passive aggressive in their approach. And I think that um, trying to call a spade a spade. I can be passive aggressive sometimes. But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, I think, the best approach to that really is just assertiveness on your end, nip it in the bud, keep it professional. Other than that, what do you think some of the biggest challenges in the industry for you that you face?
Other than that, is more so people's work ethic. It's like everybody wants the big life. They don't want to put in the work.
Mm,
They don't want to front up the money. That everything is, oh, I want you to help me with this. I want you to help me with that. Because I'm very knowledgeable. Now, I know I'm knowledgeable. I got a degree in it, right? I'm a subject matter expert when it comes to music business.
right.
I'm a subject matter expert when it comes to marketing plans and publicity, right? Went to school for it. So people want my knowledge, but they don't want to pay for it. And they think that because I'm cute, that I'm gonna be like, "Oh, okay, buy me dinner and I'll give you all my knowledge." And I
Right.
used to be that way. Not buy me dinner and I'll give you all my knowledge, but my desire to help people just out of just being a non-commissioned officer, like you see a soldier in need, and if you can help them, you educate them, you teach them, you give them tools. And so I still have that in me. And so it's very hard a lot of the times to be like, no, I'm not gonna tell you how to do it. But I've had to learn to say no because people will take advantage of you. And
Yeah.
that's not just being a woman, that's just if you let yourself get taken advantage of, they will take advantage of you.
Yeah. Facts. Facts. What is some of the best advice that you've received while in the industry?
Let your beauty get you in the room, but let your mind keep you in the building. So it's like, yeah, sometimes I will use my pretty privilege to get me into the rooms that I need to get into that have the people that I'm trying to rub elbows with. But at the same time, once I'm there, the ditzy Yaz goes away, and now I'm knowledgeable. Now I provide value. Now it's like, oh snap, she knows what she's talking about, and that sex appeal kind of goes away, and then people start to take you serious.
Oh, that's really good. So my favorite part, what inspired you? What what inspired you to, and I know you say you wrote the script. What inspired you to start writing the script? Is that just was it a labor of love? Is it something that you had an idea of? Where does the origin of the book come from?
Okay, so when my whole entire life, I always say that like my life is a lifetime movie. If it's happened on Lifetime, I've probably dealt with it.
Yeah.
And so it kind of became a joke that I would always say, like, oh, this would be a dope episode, or this would be a dope movie right here, or like this plot would be dope. So when I went to school, part of my curriculum in music business, entertainment business, we took like a script writing kind of class. It was like the teacher herself. We took a class that had to do with videography, movie, script writing, like the process of a movie, how to budget a movie. It's part of the curriculum. And script writing was a part of that class. So I got to read a script for the first time in my life. I got to see what a script was. I've never seen one before. Like I didn't even know what it was. And that was kind of that. Like I left it in college. That wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I talked to a girl that was getting her master's in film. We talked and she was asking me about myself and my life. And so she asked me if she can write a script on a scenario that I had told her about for her master's as like one of her final projects. And she was like, I'll give you writing credit. We just have to sit down and type the script together and whatever you don't feel comfortable with, da da da. And so we sat down and we typed up a script. And that was the first time I ever got exposed to it. But it was cool because I got to write it with her. And so we did that and we submitted it for a couple of awards to become a short film, to get the money to become a short film. And we won a couple of awards internationally for short scripts, short film scripts. And so that kind of was what started it. And then I had a mentor. My mentor, his name is Jason Fredericks, rest in peace. He passed away in 2022. He was big on script writing and stuff like that. And so when I told him I wanted to do it, he was like, well, then just do it. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, just type the script. Like, there's a bunch of software you could get. Like, just type it up. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And he's like, well, figure it out. I don't know what to tell you. And so one day, it was like 2019. I won't forget. It was like a summertime. I was bored in my apartment. I was in between tours, like in between gigs. And I got on a computer. I looked up a software that was like free script writing software. And then I just kind of just started to type. And I had this scenario in my head about the movie, about the book, that plot. And it was supposed to be an episodic. So there's 3 seasons of it in my mind already. So it'll be 3 books. I was like, this will be a dope. But at the time, Sisters had just came out. Tyler Perry had came out with Bros and Sisters.
Mhm.
So there was no white space for me to necessarily pitch that script. So I ended up tabling it. And then last year, my daughter, Mookie's, she was like, hey, mom, I want to learn how to script write. Do you have any examples for me?
That's
And
amazing.
I was like, yeah, here, have this. I have Playing with Fire. It's not finished, but it was, here's the pilot episode, da da da. And so I gave it to her and she comes back with like this face. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she was like, why isn't this like, why haven't you pitched this? Like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, and she's like, if you're not, you might as well write a book about it. Like, you might as well write the book. And it was coming up the anniversary of Jason's death. And I just remember like Jason was very big on my $1 million ideas. And that was one of them. And he always said, like, whenever you don't feel like you got it all together, like go back to your million idea, touch on it again. Like you could table it down, but if time goes by and you still feel the need to go back to it, that's your $1 million idea. And so take it and do something with it. And don't just let it sit in your computer and do nothing. Even if you make $100, it's $100. And that was kind of the gist. It was a lot of grief in writing that book. It was a lot of healing in that writing of the book.
Yeah, that's amazing. and you called me out. I didn't read the whole thing. I almost finished
It's
it though.
okay.
Almost
It's
finished
okay.
it. Oh, I need a little bit of more. Need a little bit more time, but the detail in which you write with is so powerful because the way you tell it, you feel like you're there. So, is that your writing style, or you are you just or like where did you learn how to write with that level of detail?
I didn't learn how to write anyway. That's just how I write.
Yeah,
That's just how I write. Writing the book is hard because when you write a script, you write it from the outside looking in, right? You're
yeah,
like interior, driving in a car, like
yeah,
driving, you write the descriptions like what she's doing. So you're like, oh, interior car, driving, day, on the phone, and then you put what she says. I think the first one's like your vagina is gonna fall off or something like that
yeah,
is what
yeah,
I said. And then you see Jacqueline and Elena and Sophia having that friendly conversation in the car. I never thought about when you're writing a book, there's not a TV. They're not seeing this. So you have to describe everything.
yeah.
And so I ended up writing it, like, I did a rough draft. I sent it to my friend, my best friend, and I was like, "Hey, girl, can you read this and tell me, how you feel about it? I just want you to feel it out." So she reads a lot, and she said, "Yeah, this is dope." She's like, "But if I you kinda skim through everything."
Mm,
So she's like, "You say she's in a car, but, like, what does the car look like?" Or you said they were at Fat Shacks, but what does Fat Shack look like? I don't know what there's no you
right.
don't transport me from sitting in my car reading the book or sitting on my couch reading the book to actually being there and escaping where I'm at. And so I took that and I went back to the computer and I just sat there and I visualized every scene. And I just built it in my head, and then whatever I saw, I wrote down.
No, I mean, that is nuts because I have a few friends that are authors, and I only know one other author, shout out Daya Shakur, who writes so vivid that when you're reading it, you can hear the character's voice. And as you refer to another character, the voice changes based on what you just read. So now, as you're going through, you have these characters and they're talking in different voices, but you're reading. Like, you know how
Right.
much detail that you got to have to hear three people have a conversation and to have a distinction between all of their voices and how they talk? That's so dope to me. Tell us a little bit about the book. What is the book about?
Okay, so Playing with Fire is a fun, playful, like love triangle. I like to say it's about a girl named Sophia, aka Sophia, and she's basically career driven. She's first generation American. That was very important to me. And she's very driven and she's getting ready to get this promotion. Like she really wants this promotion really bad. And because of that, she's kind of neglected her social life. And so her friends kind of, you know, convince her, trick her into taking a night off. And in that night, she decides to make a couple of decisions and that ends up in this whirlwind romance, as I like to say.
Yeah.
She ends up in this love triangle that was unintentional, intentional, I guess. But it's basically about a girl just trying to figure out how to balance romance, a secret, and her career all at the same time.
Yeah, that's dope. Is that something that is a part of your imagination, or do you have some points in there that are a part of who you are?
I think I'm a part of a part of my beliefs are in a lot of that stuff.
Mm,
Only because I feel like a lot of romances, the main character always does what's right. They do the right thing, but not what's right for
yeah.
them. And I think in this story and how I'm gonna continue it, she's gonna do what's right for her. and what she feels is right for her in that moment, regardless of what everybody else feels. And I think that's okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's right, but I think it's okay. So, I mean, I think that as she moves forward with the story, I don't know how far along you got.
Don't give all the secrets away.
I don't know how far along you got, but I think within the story, she makes a lot of decisions that are right for her that is going to piss a lot of people off because they're like, that's not what she should do. But if they were in those shoes, they'd probably make the same choices.
So like the perspective is, and that's a really good perspective though, because a lot of times people are that way from the outside looking in. You would judge someone for making a decision, but had you been in said person's shoes, you probably would have made the same decision because there's other experiences and touch points from making the decision that the person on the outside would have never had. That's
Right.
that's how much detail you're writing with. It's crazy. That's so dope.
I
That's
thought it was boring. I was like, oh my God, they're going to read this and they're going to get so bored.
nah, no. So reading chapter 1 and 2 is a lot of detail because you're kind of setting the stage. I don't think it was I don't think it was boring, but I was trying to find the point. Like, where are we going with this? I think I
Mhm.
did find a little bit of Sophia's character in her hard work. So I thought, all right, this lady about to be probably annoying for this until something bad happens. But let's see where we going with this. But just the way you kind of set the stage, definitely it picks up and starts sprinting a little bit. So I think the readers are definitely go because I'm a reader. I think that the readers are definitely going to enjoy what you have for him. What was your favorite part of making the book? Because I know as an author, my favorite part is I mean, my favorite part, my least favorite part of any book is having to damn read it over again or listen to the editor tell me how I jacked up everything. What was your favorite part about writing this book?
My favorite part, I guess, was reading it back, like,
Mm,
after, because 'cause I'll go in and I'll just start typing and typing and typing, and I get the scene out of my head and onto paper, right? So
yeah.
then I'll go back and I'll read it, and I get excited even though I know what's gonna happen. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe that."
That's like when I used to rap after I record the song and I listen to it and I'll be like, he got bars. Dude, you're him. You got bars. But yeah, that's that same feeling right there.
Especially my favorite scene, which is, my favorite chapter, Better Tendencies. I love that chapter.
Mm,
It's my favorite chapter in the whole book. Before the book release on my TikTok, I read just that
that
chapter.
chapter. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Because it shows the perspective of everybody involved. Jacqueline, Sophia, the stranger guy. You can see a man's perspective. In this chapter, particularly, Sophia decides to agree to go out with her friends for a night out. And they kind of joke around a little bit and let her know that she's a lover girl or whatever. Cause she's talking about she finna wild out just to prove a point. She's finna bring back, you know,
Yeah.
college Sophia. So they were like, yeah, right, girl, you're a lover girl, you're a commitment girl. You know, you were committed to this guy for years. And so she goes out with this, she has a mission. She's gonna prove these bitches wrong. Like, no, like I can have fun, I can have a one night stand, no strings attached, I don't care. And when she gets to the club, she's pretty and her friends are really pretty. And Jacqueline's a freaking Amazon woman, like she's this gorgeous yoga instructor, super outgoing. Like she'll take anybody home. Like she's the whole friend, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Elena's a little bit more conservative because she's got a kid, but they're all beautiful women. And so she kind of feels like she's being gawked over, and it kind of made her feel uncomfortable, and she's like, I don't, she's an independent woman. I don't need no man to buy me no drink. I don't need this. I don't need that. So when the stranger offers her the drink, she has such a bad attitude. Instead of just saying thank you, she's like, I don't need you to buy me no drink. And he basically tells her, like, you're a bitter chick.
Yeah.
Well, he says you have bitter tendencies. And I think that, I mean, a lot of guys feel that way when they meet a girl like that, that's independent, super, I'm just trying to be nice. I don't know you from Adam, I'm just buying you a drink. All you got to do is say thank you.
Right.
But she has so much to prove on both ends, like so much to prove that she's independent, but then also trying to be, the girl that her girls want her to be. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like balancing that. And in that chapter, I feel like it's a fun chapter. It's fun
So
to read.
the book ain't the end of the series.
It's going to be a 3-book series. The end of this book is pretty abrupt. So wait till you get there. It's very set. It just stops and you're kind of left like with the what the fuck? Like
A big cliffhanger.
because it ties everything back to the very beginning. So I have people in my DMs like almost every day when they finish the book, like, okay, you can't wait another year to drop the second book. Like it needs to come out now because I want to read it now. Like
Not about to
what?
have me on edge.
Right. Like they're like, girl, like what? This is your first book, and no, we need the second book. Like, what's going on? So I'm gonna take the next 2 months off and then I'll probably get back to writing. Hopefully I can finish the book at a decent time. But I want to drop it probably next summer again.
Nice.
I want, it's my first book, so I want to see how marketing it and getting it kind of out there a little bit more. I feel like June 1st was a little soft release. But yeah, it's gonna be a 3-book series. And then I have another script that's sitting on my computer that I might make it a book. And that one's called Garrison.
So you got some stored in your bag already. You just ain't
Oh
busted out
yeah.
yet.
Garrison is I feel like so Playing with Fire is my book for my girls.
Yeah.
And then Garrison, my book fellas. Like that book, the guy y'all are gonna be like, oh, this is crazy.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it. I am definitely looking forward to it. Let me ask you from an author to the business perspective, do you feel like some of the skills that you have as a marketer um has transitioned into how you're marketing in this book, or do you feel like it might just be a little bit harder to market for yourself?
To be honest, I think that for me, this book was kind of like I said, it was a healing process. It was
Mm,
part of my healing process with the grief of losing my mentor. So I didn't necessarily, it's not that I didn't take it serious. It was more so the purpose of it wasn't that, it wasn't to put out there for everybody to see or what it was for me to just get it out because I promised that I would.
yeah.
Um, I am gonna go back and remarket and do like a better campaign for a nice release around Christmas time so that we can, people are buying gifts, da da da. So we can kind of do a better release for that at that point. But I don't think it's harder I think it can be harder to market for yourself because you know where your blind spots are.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like marketing for yourself or helping somebody else market for them. I can come out with a strategy for you because I only see your point of view.
Right.
But for me, I see every point of view because I have to because I need to know because I help everybody from different states. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
trying to tie it down to just my point of view.
Yeah,
It can be hard.
I know that can be um difficult. I think I find it much easier to do things for others than when I look at the scope of my business. I always outreach because I know I will have blind spots based off of my tendencies and what I like and
Hmm.
what I see work for me and not necessarily what work for other people. But no, that's super dope. So tell me what else you got going on. What's new? What's next?
Okay, so I'm on a crusade to educate people about the financial industry. I'm actually getting my license in life insurance, but I want to get my investments license for as well. So those are my two. That's my priority right now. Outside of writing my book, I really want to I really want to educate people on, you know, income protection, investments, taking the middleman out the way, and just doing it yourself. Because a lot of this stuff is stuff that you don't get taught.
You don't.
If I would have known this when I was younger, I promise you I would not be in the position I am right now. I'd probably be on a boat, on a yacht, in a thong, shaking my ass or whatever. Like I would not be having to work like
I'm
this.
telling you, I know it. I understand it. You know, that is my sole purpose and mission. It's crazy because I may like run a few commercials on a podcast, but I don't really talk about it. And I'm gonna try to stay away from it because what I want to talk about, you got to pay for.
Mhm.
But
Right.
financial literacy is so important, especially in minority communities, because not only are we not taught from it, there are specific spaces that are blocking us from that blessing. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, it's the American dream for a reason because anybody can do it, right?
Right. And can
Mhm.
we stop making talking about our finances taboo?
Yeah,
Like, listen, Jewish people, they don't have a problem talking to each other about
at
their
all.
money. You know what I'm saying? Indians, Asians, they don't have a problem talking to each other about their money. They don't.
No one except for
Our community, oh, you trying to show out, or oh, you trying to be in my business. No, I'm not. That ain't no, bro. Like, how can we help each other? How
facts.
can I help you? How can I educate you? It's so frustrating that people think that because I ask questions, and I don't even ask questions about where you are right now. I be asking questions about where you want to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, where do you see when do you want to retire? Oh, I want to retire in the next 10 to 15 years. Oh, okay. You started saving? Oh, why you gotta be all up in my bit? I was just, do you feel like what?
yeah. I've found over time in studying that people are more defensive when they realize that their ideas aren't actions. And so it is a self-realization that I am not doing what is coming out of my mouth.
Hmm.
And they're upset because they have exposed themselves as liars. And you're not a liar, you just didn't start yet.
Right.
Yeah, and it's okay with that. And sometimes you gotta walk people back. As you can see, it that's me with a few years in the industry now. Sometimes
Hmm.
you gotta walk people back from that because it causes a level of anxiety to think like, "Holy shit, I do wanna retire in 15 years, and I don't have
I don't
anything
have a
saved."
plan. Right.
But it's okay because this is the only not the nugget I'm gonna give about finance, and then I'm gonna move away from it. But realistically, if you could find a job where you can live off 20% of your income, you could literally retire in 6 years. So anybody with the thought
You
of,
can find a
hey, it's gonna
job.
take me X amount to retire, what you need to do is work your way back from X amount and
Hmm.
then plan to live off 20% of your income. So for instance, if I could live off of $60,000 a year, then I probably need a $500,000 job,
Hmm.
right? And it's not impossible. Even
Right.
a quarter million of dollars, because if you do 6 times 60 times 30, that is roughly about 1.8 million. So realistically, a half a million, that's what? One, two, three, a little less than 3.5 years, you can retire and then live off of $60,000 a year. So the math
Right.
isn't hard. The math isn't hard. It's just getting out and making a plan and then doing something actionable off of that math. But now
Right.
I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm with you. I definitely agree. I had a lot of interviews this week, prospecting and kind of just tapping in and learning how to present and stuff like that. And a lot of my friends that I kind of called to kind of help let me present to them, they would get anxious. They're like, this is causing me anxiety.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, it's not, I apologize. And that wasn't my intention. But I do feel like kind of putting a light in a place where you purposely have turned the light off because it makes you feel good to keep that door closed, and opening that door and kind of letting a little bit of light in there. I'm doing you a favor. Not feel that way, but I'm doing you a favor because now you know.
Yeah.
It's just, but yeah, I didn't realize how anxious people really got when it came to this. Like they really panic. It's almost like it's crazy to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. People will talk about politics. They'll talk about their sex life. They'll talk about the most inappropriate shit you can think of. And then you start talking about money,
Yeah,
shut down. It's wild to me. Yes.
that's true.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for on the show. We got to do
Of
this
course.
again. I have a couple of recommendations. I'm gonna plug you in with a couple of folks I think would be really advantageous just for you to meet them and talk to them. They do some of the same things, and they also have podcasts. So, and I think it'd just be a good conversation for you to just link in with them.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Any last words for the listeners and viewers? What you want people to take away from today's conversation?
Okay, well, first I want to say thank you for having me here. It's been an honor, like taking the time and putting me on your platform. I really do appreciate it. And I guess the nugget for the listeners is just do it. Like, fuck what anybody. If they don't pay your bills, fuck what they got to say. Like, I wrote a book and I gave a really hard time because it was only 150 pages. Like, I was like, oh God, it's only 150 pages. It's not thick enough. It doesn't look a novel. And my 10-year-old was like, Mom, you wrote a book. That's all she said. She said, you said you were going to write a book and you wrote one. Let it go. And this came from a 10-year-old. So don't let your feelings about what other people think or are going to think stop you from putting whatever it is that you want to put out there. I know that's cliche, but it's real. People really deny themselves money, life, love, because they're worried about what somebody who don't even pay their bill. If they die today, their life tomorrow changes 0%.
That's so fire.
I tell people that all the time. If you die today, I'm sorry, no, not that I wish anybody to die, but if the person talking shit, if they died today and my life is exactly the same tomorrow, I don't care about your opinion. Don't
That's
matter.
crazy. But wow, I love it. I love it. I love it.
So,
Say, on this show, we say change your mind, change your money, change your life. And I want to thank you for helping the listeners do that today.
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, before I run away, hey, how can people reach you? What's your socials? Where can we
Oh
find
yeah.
people?
So it's simple. It's Yaz Franco in all platforms. I'm not so much on X no more. I'm more of a threader. I like to sew. But yeah, my Instagram, my threads, my TikTok, it's Yaz Franco.
Yeah, and it'll be down there in the comments as well, in the description. But again, thank you again. Change your mind, change your money, change your life. Thank you for joining the podcast. And remember, change your mind, change your money, change your life. We out.